Teacher, I feel lucky to have learned the knowledge of your two truths over the years. In the early years, when he spread enlightened knowledge, he did not teach about understanding energy particles as he does now. At that time, I saw myself and many others misunderstanding Enlightenment knowledge. People remembered very well what the teacher taught. Still, they mistook it, even though the teacher reminded them that learning must go hand in hand with practice to understand knowledge accurately. People misunderstand and then spread the wrong understanding. When someone tells them about their misunderstanding, they become arrogant, that they are people with profound knowledge. That has caused conflicts between learners. I could not explain their mistakes at that time, even though I understood that they thought and acted wrongly. However, since I learned the knowledge of energy particles associated with the two truths, I have understood why you remind and warn of many problems that students easily fall into. The knowledge of energy particles has analyzed all the secrets and nature of humans and Tulins on their practicing journey in the human world, especially the toxins of those who learn and practice enlightened knowledge. Before, when you reminded everyone and everyone just thought and talked to each other, why did you remind them so much? However, attachment, jealousy, and superiority between people and between students are extremely dangerous. When I apply the knowledge of the two truths with energy particles to analyze all the problems of myself and everyone else, I find it highly magical. Everything you have said so far is correct when explained in terms of the smallest particle of energy. I and some of my friends who have learned from you over the years feel highly excited about your current special knowledge. Nothing can describe my and everyone else's feelings about this knowledge, even though it is difficult to understand everything you teach. A student studying his knowledge confided in him during lunch break when he finished his lecture on the truth of everything with the smallest energy particle. The private office is also the teacher's and some students' lunch break. When other students enjoyed a nap to stay awake in the afternoon for studying, the teacher and that student talked to each other just barely audible. At that time, the teacher replied,
I have said there are two ways to learn Enlightenment knowledge. One is to learn it after going through the sufferings of life, and the other is to learn it from knowledge taught by Nalas Nalanda. When there are too many toxins in learners, they easily become disobedient, and they also easily become arrogant and complacent about the intelligence and supernatural powers they possess. Then, they try to deduce the teachings of enlightenment according to their ignorant wisdom, and they pass on their mistakes to others. When people listen, they have no standards or references to compare, so they easily follow the mistakes of those who transmit knowledge. That is a part of the reason for this life's mission to create the most transcendent type of enlightened knowledge. As for disobedient students, please return them to the flow of samsara and cause and effect. Practical lessons in suffering will help them eliminate toxins in them. At that time, they will destroy the poison of pride and concentrate on studying and practicing according to the knowledge of the two truths.
When everyone in the afternoon class began to quiet down and wait for the teacher's new lecture, the teacher said in a deep voice,
This morning you have discovered the truth of the universe with the smallest particle of energy. This afternoon, we continue the lesson about the truth of enlightenment in the smallest energy particle. When you finish studying this lesson, you will be happy because you have almost understood two of the three secrets that Tulins and humans are searching for. After a few more classes, you will completely understand the two secrets and a bit about destructive energy. You will no longer worry because you fear misunderstanding and incorrectly practicing what knowledge instructs. Instead, you become confident and strong in the practice of knowledge when you have the nature of energy particles as the standard and reference for enlightenment teachings. The truth of enlightenment in the smallest energy particle includes two steps. Step 1. Analyze the theory of the truth of enlightenment to understand its value for humans and Tulins. The theory of the truth of enlightenment is, life is full of suffering. All Tulins, spiritual beings, and humans must face, become enlightened, and be liberated from all suffering. life is full of suffering. Do you understand the meaning of this exclamation? How do you feel when you say that sentence with the feeling of enlightenment about the truth of suffering? You must know that the truth of enlightenment only exists when each person understands the truth of the universe. That is understanding the reality of human origin, tuolin, oneself, the task of practicing in the human world in suffering through interactive scenarios to help one's soul mature and become enlightened. At that time, your emotions will burst and exclaim, life is full of suffering. Enjoy mixed with the hurt of suffering and tribulations in the human world. The fun and excitement are because you have learned the truth, and as a result, you are achieving initial achievements in your spiritual journey. Your achievement is suffering. However, you still have the hurt of suffering because of the ignorance that still exists in your wisdom and soul. On the contrary, people who do not understand the above truths, when they read that sentence, only feel more pain and resentment towards life because they feel that life is too unfair to them. All tuolins, spiritual beings and humans must face all suffering. Why must it be all sentient beings, tuolins and humans? Because all is equal and all is formed from the smallest particles of energy from the universe's original yin and yang embryo, Nalas Nalanda. In addition, the practice environment on Earth was created by Nalas Nalanda to help tuolins live in human form. Low-level souls live in the form of animals, plants, and rocks. All is equal. According to the transformation mechanism, low-level souls can upgrade to become tuolins and enlightened beings. Next, why face all the suffering? That's because the practice environment on Earth is created with full assurance of maximum pressure and compression to help tuolins and lower-level souls express their nature in a simple form. That nature is toxins and goodness. These natures are revealed only when sentient beings, tuolins and humans, live and interact in all the scenarios created by the four forms in life. Suffering is the toxins that vibrate and erupt from humans, tuolins, and sentient beings. Therefore, we conclude that we must have sufferings to recognize the toxins and then force them out of ourselves. That is one of the tasks on the practicing journey, and if we run away or do not face suffering, we will never understand ourselves, everyone, and everything. As a result, our practicing path has no destination, and the danger of destruction of tuolins and souls exists because of the energy of destruction. You must be enlightened and free from all suffering. When we know the truth about our origin and nature, humanity and tuolins, and the mission of practicing as human beings is to understand the three secrets that we are searching for in the suffering of life, we must complete that mission. We must learn and understand them through the truth of the universe in all suffering and tribulations. It is enlightenment. Next, we must liberate all agony. It is the practice of forcing out all the toxins and activating the goodness within us to transform the yin and yang embryo into an energy filter. Step 2. Analyze the truth of enlightenment in the smallest energy particle. Please observe the image simulating the truth of enlightenment in energy particles. Compare the differences between the energy particle of ignorance, negative energy particle, and the energy particle of enlightenment, positive energy particle. In particular, look closely at the intellectual wave code of both energy particles from point 1 to point 3, because the secrets of energy particles and all things are encoded and stored in the intellectual wave code of the smallest particle. To understand the enlightened knowledge in the smallest energy particle, you must read or listen to the universal truth in the smallest energy particle many times. Because the truth of enlightenment is part of the truth of the universe, it is the accurate knowledge of the smallest energy particle to all matter and life in the universe. However, I must separate it into a noble truth equal to the truth of the universe, because it is the transformation mechanism of all things. When you clearly understand the truth of the universe, you will quickly understand and practice the truth of enlightenment. In the image simulating two energy particles above, I divide each energy particle into two extremes, including the extreme of ignorance, yin, and the extreme of enlightenment, yang. Factors such as the internal environment, external environment, points 1, 2, and 3 in the intellectual wave code are all knowledge I analyzed in the previous lesson. And now, I only speak two strands of intellectual wave code in the energy particles of ignorance and enlightenment, and you will understand the entire truth of enlightenment in the smallest energy particle. The intellectual wave code fiber consists of two segments: the intellectual fiber segment from point 2 to number 3, and the vibration wave code segment from point 1 to number 2. The intellectual fiber segment. This is the intelligent fiber that manifests and performs the functions and tasks of the intelligence wave code in the smallest energy particle. The roles and functions of the intellectual fiber are conventionally defined at point 2, which is the ideological point. Intelligent fibers and point 3 always perform the correct functions and tasks specified in point 2. That means if point number 2 is created at the yang pole, enlightenment, the wisdom fiber and point number 3 are also formed at the enlightenment pole. On the contrary, if number 2 is formed at the negative extreme, ignorance, the wisdom fiber and number 3 are created at the extreme ignorance. Intellectual fibers are different as they are formed at two other extremes, as follows. Intellectual fibers are created at the positive pole. Yang extreme, also known as the enlightenment pole, has different information values. Therefore, the functions and tasks of each positive intellectual fiber are also other when they are formed in different circumstances, at different times, and with varying information values. That constitutes the power and the manifestation of different functions and tasks among the positive energy particles. It is called the yang energy particle because the wisdom fiber is formed in the yang extreme, so it is also called the yang wisdom fiber. The positive intellectual fiber is the intelligent segment that stores and encodes accurate and comprehensive information values. Such information has value in promoting sustainable development for itself and the external environment. Wisdom fibers are formed at the yin pole. The yin extreme, also known as the ignorant extreme, this extreme has different information values. Therefore, the functions and tasks of each yin intelligence fiber are also other when they are created in different circumstances, at different times, and with varying information values. That constitutes the power and the manifestations of different functions and tasks among the yin energy particles. It is called a negative energy particle because the wisdom fiber is created in the yin extreme, so it is also called the yin wisdom fiber. The negative intelligence fiber is the fiber that stores and encodes missing and false information values. That information causes damage to itself and the external environment when it exceeds the allowable error threshold. Vibrational wave code. This is the decoding segment, also known as the function and task convention segment for the intellectual fiber segment in the smallest particle. This decoding segment synthesizes the vibration, activation, and connection process between the information in the vibrational wave code of the original yin and yang embryo and the information in the outside environment. This process takes place in tension, even conflict, between the information values of the original yin and yang embryo and the information values of the outside. As follows: vibrational wave code of the energy particle of ignorance. This vibrational wave code is the product of the process in which the original yin particle of the yin and yang embryo has too much false information, harmful information, or a lack of information. It's called toxic information, also known as toxicity, because when the subject interacts with a negative environment, negative information is easily absorbed and closely linked to the poisonous information inside. Meanwhile, the accurate information of the original positive particle does not have enough heat and power to decode and control negative information from the outside, and it is not strong enough to handle the harmful information of the original yin particle itself in the yin and yang embryo. As a result, dangerous information links together and forms the ideology at point 2, at the extreme of ignorance. Because the vibrational wave code stores false and malicious information values, it adopts point 2 to form the function and task convention for the intellectual fiber that carries its nature, vibrational wave code of enlightened energy particle. In contrast to the vibrational code of the energy particle of ignorance, the vibrational code of the energy particle of enlightenment results from the truth information values. When the original positive energy particle in the yin and yang embryo has accurate and comprehensive information values, it is powerful enough to control the toxic information values in the original yin particle. Therefore, when the subject interacts in any external environment, the power information of the primitive positive particle controls the harmful and false data of the original negative particle and the external environment. The subject only receives accurate information and has value in promoting sustainable development by absorbing information from the original negative particle. The interaction process between the two internal and external information environments under the effective control of the primitive positive particle has helped the newly produced energy particle to have the value of a positive particle. That means that the vibrational wave code of the new energy particle stores accurate information that carries the importance of sustainable development of the original yin and yang embryo and the outside. Therefore, those information values assign functions and tasks to the wisdom fiber of the positive energy particle that has the exact nature through the ideology at point 2 at the positive pole. Negative energy particles result from the toxic outbreak in human intelligence, toolins, and all things. Positive energy particles result from controlling toxins and activating goodness in human intelligence, toolins, and all things. The negative energy particle is suffering, forming the mechanism of transformation, decay, and destruction. Positive energy particles are the enlightenment of suffering and create a sustainable transformation mechanism. There are still many secrets in the vibrational wave code. I will continue to analyze it in other lectures. After today's lesson, please connect what you learned from the first lesson to this lesson and apply the knowledge of the two truths associated with the smallest particle of energy to discover yourself, others, animals, toolins, and everything. You will see the magic of this special enlightened knowledge.
A student immediately told him, "Teacher, from what I have learned from you until now, I understand that ignorance and enlightenment both create the smallest particles of energy through interaction and action of humans and toolines. The practice environment in human form is ideal for understanding the three secrets through the two truths associated with the smallest energy particle. In particular, enlightenment and liberation from suffering create values that are positive energy particles with the characteristics of sustainable development. From the teacher's knowledge values, everyone has accurate standards and references for what they learn and practice. Now, I want to scream loudly because of the overflowing emotions when I partly understand the values of the two truths you taught. It is the guideline, the solid foundation for everyone to practice the path of practice, with nothing but suffering and peace, to face and enlighten them." The teacher smiled and replied,
The secrets and wonderful values of the knowledge of the two truths and energy particles are still in other lessons. It is fascinating for you to explore and practice.